All right, take three. In the Fed. Hear it all the time. In the Fed. In the Fed. In the Fed. Well, the first problem I have is these kinds of people will say, and I don't mean to lump everybody. I look, you know, but the first thing I hear is that it's not a government thing. I'm sorry to use a voice like that, but they tell me it's not a government institution. It's in fact a private corporation. No, it's an act of Congress. It uses private banks, and that list you see all over the internet isn't even the list anymore. So that's not what it is. Now, I don't think the people at the Fed or people I'd want running Fed or whatever, or would I want to run it? No. So, what do you do with that? Um, you know, this whole Federal Reserve thing is very interesting because it's a long-standing debate. Uh, Andrew Jackson hated the idea of a bank, right? Who was in Hamilton thought it was a good idea, and some people think, well, he was corrupt and he brought the European banking powers to our states. Yeah, no. If they can provide stability, is it a bad thing? The problem is like the corruption, and it's the same thing that got us to come here in the first place, right? We're running from that. I mean, I've been running from, I've been running from a lot of people around me. So, like I had to leave California because the inflation got so bad, and I had to leave Portland because the inflation got so bad, and all that time we were told there was no inflation, by the way, but I found that running a tight ship and having a good budget and saving, I like to say, I used to like to save about $1,000 a month, basically, a long time ago. Like if I tighten my shit up right, I could save 1K a month. Now it's pretty hard to save like 200, $300 a month right now with the inflation. So, but yeah, and then I burned through a whole bunch of that in Portland partying. But yeah, the the Fed is actually an act, like you control it. You know, like one time I was sitting in a restaurant and this waitress came up and said, "Are you?" As I was sitting there with my laptop, and she's like, "Are you plotting to overthrow the government?" Like it's a joke, and I'm like, "As a matter of fact, I am." And then she's like, "What?" And then she got all like freaked out. And I'm like, "No, no, no, you don't understand. The congressional elections are coming up, and we can overthrow our government legally, peacefully, no problem. Throw them out. We can do that. Like that's assuming the voting systems are legit. It's all right." And it's funny too because everybody's like so like they hate Congress, but they love their Congress critter. I don't even know who mine is. Like I looked her up. I think it's a she. I don't know. A state rep came to my door and shook my hand. Like he was running for re-election. He was libtard, but that makes a big impression on you. It's like, hey, like this is a guy I could have a beer with. Like I felt that way. Interesting guy, and he wasn't just coming to my house. Like he was all over the neighborhood, just knocking on doors, shaking on hands. And he asked me, "Do you have any questions for me?" I said, "No, I'm busy," because I didn't want to like tell him how stupid he is and the Rona locked. I mean, I just would have unloaded, right? That's what I would have done. So I just thought this man looks polite. I'm just gonna shake his hand and like send him on his way. I'm not voting for him, but I'm not voting for anybody who went along with that. But yeah, and it is kind of tied in. The Federal Reserve. I don't believe that they don't print money like you think. We print the money. Like I said, you get a loan or something, you create the money when you do that. The government prints the money when they ask the market for money to, pay for their bills that they can't pay, right? And it's not, the government's budget is not like a household budget. There is something to modern monetary theory. There is something to it, guys. It can be abused. It's like a chainsaw, you know. It can help you or it can, do something really bad. So, um, yeah, and the Fed, I'm not so sure. Maybe control the Fed. Maybe have more interest in it. Maybe understand it more, guys. That's why I like to follow Danielle DiMartino. She's one of the best people on the Fed. And I also like Carl Denninger. I'll just post links to both those guys. They both have very interesting, and they have plenty of free content out there. You can find Stocks and Jocks is where Carl Denninger hangs out. It's like a podcast, and he'll give you the real numbers. What's really going on. Because it's just kind of annoying. Now I don't want to piss people off that are in the Fed because I get where you're coming from, and I felt the same way. Like I said, I was a big Ron Pauler in 2008. Like I poured my heart and soul into it. I believed in the gold standard and all that. And now, I mean, it's true that, like, say right here, this is silver quarters. I mean, it's true. We had silver money. We can't afford to have that. That is true. There's a degradation of our money. But that doesn't mean, I mean, there was a Federal Reserve while you had that, you know? And you can have inflation with the gold standard. That's provable in history. Also, when I hear, since the Federal Reserve, we've had big wars, and that's why we have wars, because we have. Really? I mean, this country started with the war. Was there a Federal Reserve? I mean, we had a civil war. I don't know if we had a central bank at the time. I don't think so. Just go to world history and you'll see wars without any sort of central banking at all. So central banks don't create wars. Sorry. People do. That's the thing. I think a lot of this is we like to assign blame to an institution. Like, look at this big, intimidating building. Yeah. Remember, the Federal Reserve is not federal. Bullshit. It's an act of Congress. We created it. Yes, the banking systems within it are privately owned, but we created it. We do, in fact, fund. We could eliminate it, but I want you to ask yourself the question, what's going to happen? What are you going to replace it with? I mean, really. You swipe your card all over the place. You write your checks. You get your paycheck direct deposited. Remember, it was Alan Greenspan who pioneered the direct deposit stuff. And now we all depend on it, right? In the old days, when I was like a kid, I would get a paycheck and I would go to a place, like a liquor store, basically, cash it out, spend half my money on whatever the fuck there, blow the rest of it, like that's what I would do when I got my first jobs. Like I barely made my rent, it was like I would get the cash and like I just blow it all over the place like an idiot. Now that might be okay. It might be preferable to you if you have good self-control, but you need a lot of, I'm just saying, you ought to think about it and think of all the different bizarre financial transactions that need to happen for you to get like stuff delivered to your door. Not just like, it's more than just like your transaction. It's the transaction between the people supplying and manufacturing. It's just so. All right, I'm not gonna ramble anymore.